welcome to the video. Today I will be showing my entire watercolor collection that I've been accumulating for the past couple years. Alright, let's kickstart it with the first set of watercolors I ever bought. These are Koi watercolors by Sakura, a set of 12. They were about $30-ish, and I got them at an art supply store before I knew a single thing about watercolors. So as far as I can tell, these are student grade paints. I haven't opened these paints for like over a year probably. I don't even really remember how much I actually have painted with them. So when I was going to try them out for this video, some of the colors came out just this oily, goopy, booger mess. And I don't know if this is because they're old, if this is something that can be fixed. I tried shaking them. I tried to keep pouring until like paint would come out, but it didn't work. I don't know if it's like the binding agent or something has separated from the pigment over time, but yeah, it was pretty gross. But I was able to get paint out of a few of the tubes, and you know, these aren't bad watercolors. I think these are actually a pretty good starter set. Some of the colors kind of gave off like a neon vibe, which I wasn't super down with. But I did like the black. The black seemed like a nice dark shade, and also the white. The white was really opaque and could actually be used out of the tube as something comparable to a white gouache. And could be potentially good for adding highlights. I don't usually use white watercolor at all, but this one definitely reminded me of like a gouache straight out of the tube. Okay, this next one I actually bought after watching a video on Pipa's channel. She did a speed paint of one of her OCs using this palette and kind of did like a little mini review on it. And this is the Mozart Komorebi Japanese watercolor paint set that has 40 colors, and it also has metallic and neon colors in there, which I thought was kind of cool. And this one was also about $30-ish, so it was a good step, I think, for me, because I was new to color mixing, and this palette contains a lot more convenience colors where you don't have to mix your own brown, you don't have to mix, you know, your own green. They're just there already. But these particular paints, the Mozart paints, are super vibrant. They have a really soft, creamy texture. They're super pigmented. According to their website, they are artist quality, and the light fast ratings are available if you contact the company. I'm not super concerned about light fastness. I don't sell my original art right now, so it doesn't really make a difference to me, but that information is available if you contact the company. I loved this palette. It really kind of got me going when it came to watercolors, and I think this palette is really good quality for the price. It definitely made me fall in love with watercolors and start to kind of get a groove on how I can paint with watercolors. Alright, this next palette is going to be kind of a 2-for-1. I was watching more and more YouTube videos about watercolor and starting to think, oh, maybe I should buy some more professional, higher quality paints if I'm going to start to get more serious about it. So I bought, around the same time, I bought Core Watercolors, the Intro High Chroma set of 6. Core is made by Golden, and I found these paints from an Emily Artful video, one of my favorite artists on YouTube. She recommended them, and I thought that the color selection was really unique and different. And according to their website, they have an exclusive synthetic binder called Aquazole, which apparently accentuates the luminosity and the brilliance of the pigments, and they're definitely very pigmented. And like I said, the colors are really different and unique, and especially this cobalt teal. It's just such a gorgeous color. I want to paint everything in this color, and I don't usually like bright colors like that. The other half of the palette is Daniel Smith Extra Fine Essentials Introductory Watercolor. They were 6 5-milliliter tubes for about $35. They are one of the most popular leading brands of professional watercolors, and one of the best in the market. They're premium artist grade, and this palette has really held up over time. I think it's probably about a year old, and the paint hasn't really dried too much, and it reactivates really easily. So I'll usually just drop a couple drops of water in before I use it, or spritz it with a little spray bottle. You can't beat the quality of these professional grade watercolors. They're just, you're really gonna get what you pay for when it comes to paints like this. The next two are by Art Philosophy, Prima Marketing Watercolor Confections. There's Pastel Dreams and Complexion, which both have 12 half pans, and they are both around $25 or $26. They're artist grade, high quality paints. These are going to be a little bit more opaque than something like Core or Daniel Smith, because they're not like just a pure pigment. It's a mix. In order to get that pastel color, they have to put white in it. Out of these two, I definitely use the Complexions one more. And the funny thing is I don't really use it for skin tones. I like to mix my own skin tones because I think they come out a little bit more natural looking when they're mixed with a bunch of different colors. But I do like having pre-mixed browns. I like having all of these options for different shades of brown, because that's definitely one thing that I need to work on, is mixing my own browns. I use it the most probably for hair. All right, this next one is Stuart Semple's The World's Coulouriest Watercolor Set. Has 36 colors. It was $52, and I got the idea again to buy it from an Emily Artful video. She reviewed their black paint that they claim to be as like the blackest black paint, and she talked a little bit about their website, Culture Hustle, and so I of course had to jump on there and check it out for myself. And these are really cool, and the reason I bought them was because these are professional quality paints made by Stuart Semple, who's an artist. And he put this palette out with Culture Hustle specifically to make professional quality paints affordable and distributed to everyday artists on a not-for-profit basis. So I think that's really cool. I like the kind of the meaning behind it, the idea that like everybody should have a chance to paint with professional quality paints. I've gotten pretty good use out of this palette. It definitely has a lot of unique colors, and again, like convenience colors, so you don't have to do too much mixing. The quality of the paint is very obviously professional. It works really well. I don't really love the way that the palette looks. I mean, I know this is kind of dumb, but I'm not really super crazy about the aesthetic of the palette. Like the size of it compared to the pans, there's like this huge chunk of empty space, which I guess it's for the water brush that's included, which that's great for some people. I don't personally use water brushes. Okay, I had my eye on this Paul Rubens palette for a while because it's just so cute. I think I also saw this in an Emily Artful video. I swear I do other things in my life besides watch Emily Artful, okay, I promise. But she does take up a lot of my time because I love her. This is Paul Rubens Artist Watercolor Paints in the glitter. There's 24 colors. It was $45. I actually got it as a Christmas present because I knew I didn't need it, but I really liked it and wanted it, so my mom bought it for me, which was so sweet. So these are artist grade, vivid colors. They have high light fastness, high saturation. I think they also have a 12 color set available for like $30, but I like to go big or go home, and it's a better deal to get 24. So I like the 24. But really, you know, I don't actually use metallic or glitter watercolors that often. I'll use them for like details in a painting. I found myself reaching for them when I was half attempting mermaid. I did most of my mermaid scales in glitter, but they are just so pretty that I love them, and I'm glad that I have them. So in a similar vein, on an impulse one day, I bought these 3 Kuretake palettes that also have glittery metallic paints in them. So there's gem colors, pearl colors, and starry colors. I really like the pearl colors and the starry colors. To me, those were the best quality. The gem colors were kind of like whatever. I could definitely have lived without them. But all of these are about $15 each, so they're definitely more affordable than the Paul Rubens, and actually I would say comparable quality. In my opinion, these look the best right out of the pan. And they kind of take a little bit of time to activate, so I'll just drop some water onto it and let it kind of soak in there, and then really work it with the brush to kind of get all that pigment, and then it really looks gorgeous fresh out of the pan. It doesn't really have the same effect when you use it in a wash. So again, I would use these the same ways that I would use the Paul Rubens, just for like little metallic accents or glitter details. And now for the big daddy of watercolor, the Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolors in the 48 set. This is my absolute favorite set of watercolors. I had seen a few different artists review it and kind of talk about the difference between Japanese watercolors and Gansai watercolors and Western style watercolors. Again, it was one of those things where if you buy, you know, the bigger set, it like turns out to be a better deal per paint, and it's shopping math, but it always works on me. So I got the big daddy 48 colors. Now that I've been using it for a few months, I realized that I don't use all the colors. I really don't. There's probably a solid 12 that I use the most, and the rest I'll just use here and there. But I like having them. They comfort me to know that they're there, even if I don't use them. So these are traditional Japanese watercolors. They're smooth, they're non-granulated, and they have more of a shiny finish than traditional Western watercolors. Because of the different binder, they tend to lift a lot more easily than transparent watercolors would, or Western watercolors would. And this is a good thing and a bad thing. I really like it because it allows you to blend better and correct mistakes if you catch them quickly, because obviously the more it dries, the harder it is to lift. But the downside of this is that it's not the best for layering. And I was kind of Googling about Gansai paints, and I found this blog called Sadie Saves Today, and she has this whole post about what Gansai watercolors are. So from her blog, I learned that this style of paint is not really made for mixing. And also that traditional Japanese paintings are not as dependent on layering as Western watercolor paintings, which would explain why the fact that the paint lifts doesn't really matter. Fresh out of the pan, these paints are so creamy and so pigmented, and there's just nothing like it. And this ended up becoming my main choice when I'm painting. I just really like this palette. The only thing that is annoying about it is that it's so big. It takes up like a good portion of my desk, but I just put up with it because I'm so in love with the paints. This is a shot that shows that they do have a little bit of a sheen to them when they're dry, and this is a comparison to the core watercolors. You can definitely see the difference. The final watercolor set that I'm going to talk about are the Japanese Sumi-E watercolor set in Shadow Black. They were about 20 pounds or $27 from Choosing Keeping. I actually did a whole video on an art supply haul that I got from this stationery store in London that's called Choosing Keeping. Highly recommend this art supply store. I already want to buy more stuff from there, but I'm trying to restrain myself. But I really love this set. These colors are so my style. They're kind of muted, kind of neutral and dark. And again, because they're Japanese style paints, they're really pigmented and really creamy. They have those nice big old pans. And on the Choosing Keeping website, I think it actually compared them kind of more to a gouache, which I guess all Gansai style paints can be kind of more compared to gouache because they tend to be a little bit more opaque. Yeah, so I really love this set. I did notice that because they are the Gansai style paints that lift so easily, that it has been challenging to layer them. Sometimes like it just ends up lifting the color. Pretty sure these don't lift as easily as the Kuretake Gansai paints. I don't know if they're obviously made by different companies, so I think these ones stain a little bit quicker. But I love this set. I'm so glad I bought it. These colors are just irreplaceable. The last thing that I wanted to mention was that I recently bought the Arteza 60 color watercolor set in the tubes, and I put them in these little metallic tins that I bought on Amazon, but I haven't really had time to use them that much. When I did use them, I liked them. You know, I didn't put that much effort into making the palettes. I kind of just threw them together and then literally actually threw one of them off my desk on accident. I don't know what happened, but I somehow bumped it off the edge of my desk and it broke. And anyway, I'm just not even going to deal with that right now. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.